All right, ready for a deep dive today. We're tackling something that's pretty much unavoidable these days. Data. Mountains and mountains of data.
And more every day, it feels like.
Right, but the real question is, how do we make sense of it all? And believe it or not, that journey starts with something that might sound a little, well, boring: file formats.
Yeah, no, not exactly the most glamorous topic.
Yep.
But trust me, it's way more important than you might think.
I'm all in. Especially since I read this article that really hooked me because it talks about how even the mighty U.S. Air Force, the Air Force, can hit a wall when it comes to incompatible data.
It's a great example, right? Kind of funny when you think about it. William Weaver, the author, uses that story to illustrate how common this problem actually is. You can have incredible technology, top-of-the-line tools, but if they can't talk to each other...
Because they're speaking different file format languages.
Exactly. You're totally stuck.
It's like having a phone that needs charging, but all you've got is a drawer full of cables, and none of them fit. Except multiply that frustration by like 1,000. Because we're not talking about just missing a phone call here. We're talking potentially years of valuable data just locked away.
So what happened with the Air Force? What was the issue with this, what was it called? FITS format?
So FITS was, for a long time, the standard format they used. But then, technology keeps advancing, right? They're generating bigger and bigger data sets. And FITS just couldn't keep up.
Like trying to cram an ocean into a teacup.
Pretty much. And that's why this whole issue of having forward-thinking standards is so important. Because, newsflash, beta's not getting any smaller. Definitely not. And it's not just about the size, right? It's about making sure that data is actually usable down the line. Which is, I'm guessing, where these standards come in. So it's kind of a mess, right? All these different formats floating around. But it's not like everyone's just throwing in the towel, are they? This article mentions some attempts to bring some order to this chaos.
Oh, absolutely. Weaver talks about some key players, ASTM, IUPAC, big organizations working to set standards, especially in science, where sharing accurate data, I mean, that's critical, right?
Makes sense. You need a common language, basically.
Exactly, like trying to build a giant Lego masterpiece, you know? But everyone's brought a different set of blocks. These organizations, they're trying to get everyone on the same page.
Speaking of common ground, there was this thing about a system called ANDI. That one sounds like it's aiming to be the ultimate data organizer.
You could say that. ANDI is interesting because it's not just about a single file format. You know, it's a whole system. Think of it like a digital lab notebook, but amped up. Everything gets captured, raw data, settings, who ran the test, when, even notes, observations, everything.
So you can actually reproduce experiments, track changes, that kind of thing. No more digging through someone's handwritten notes from years ago.
Exactly. It's all right there, searchable, shareable. It's about transparency and collaboration, ultimately.
Okay, but then if this ANDI thing is so great, why haven't we reached data utopia yet? It can't be easy getting everyone on board with one system, right?
Well, you're hitting on a really important point, and it's something Weaver touches on, the business side of things.
Yeah.
Because as great as standardization is, for collaboration, long-term access, can be a bit of a double-edged sword.
How so?
Well, think about it. Some companies actually benefit from having their own proprietary formats.
Right, their own special sauce.
Yeah. It can be a way to, how do I put this delicately, encourage customer loyalty.
Because if switching to a competitor means you might lose access to years of data.
Exactly. Suddenly you're not so quick to jump ship. So it's this interesting tension. Short-term gains for individual companies versus long-term benefits for everyone if we all played by the same rules.
Yeah.
It's a tough nut to crack.
For sure. And a reminder that even with something as technical as file formats, there's always a here element at play. Whether it's researchers trying to share their findings or companies vying for market share, it all factors in.
Okay, so we've got this tangled web of file formats, and we know it's a bit of a headache, and we've talked about the challenges in getting everyone on the same page. But let's end on a hopeful note here. What's next? Does Weaver offer any glimpses of a brighter future for data?
He does. Weaver talks about a future where technology does even more of the heavy lifting. Electronic lab notebooks, he says those are going to get even more powerful. Not just recording and sharing data, but imagine being able to search across huge data sets, even automate some of the analysis.
Okay, now that sounds both super cool and also maybe a little intimidating. Is everyone going to need a degree in data science just to open a file in the future? Not at all. I mean, think about how technology has changed other things. We don't need to know how a combustion engine works to drive a car, right? These advances, they're about making data more accessible, more usable for everyone, even if you're not a tech whiz.
Okay, that's good to hear. So instead of data being this overwhelming force with the right formats, the right systems, it could be this incredible resource for pretty much anyone, really.
Exactly. It's about making information findable, understandable, and actionable. Think about it. Medical researchers sharing clinical trial data instantly all over the world. What could that mean for developing new treatments, new cures?
No, yeah, the possibilities are pretty much endless when you think about it that way.
Absolutely. It touches every field you can imagine.
This deep dive has been a real eye-opener. Who knew something as like seemingly boring as file formats could have such a huge impact? And it makes you wonder what other kind of like hitting forces are shaping our world in ways we don't even realize. Something to think about for sure. Until next time, thanks for diving in with us.